Morning and happy Wednesday. Making the turn here this morning on the Dan Kasper Show on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com, where you can check out the video stream, the YouTube video stream over there too. Otherwise, you can stream it online and got your app and your Google and Alexa home devices. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your start here this morning. Maybe you're kind of up a little bit late last night, dodging in and out between the rain delays that were the Brewers and Twins game last night. 3 rain delays, but Brewers getting the W, 6-3. So even with all those delays in there, Brewers still prevailing. You had a couple of dingers from Andrew McCutchen, from Willie Adames, help leading the way there. Devin Williams continuing his fantastic start to this season. 9 pitches, getting the dudes out. Josh Hader picking up his 27th save with 3 strikeouts last night, too. So, Brewers picking up game 1 of this quick 2-game series before they head off to the West Coast to take on the Giants. And game 2 is just about 6-ish hours away. First pitch slated to start at 12:10. So, yeah, almost pretty much about 6 hours away. So, we'll recap the victory for the Brewers last night. Before the game, Christian Yelich was scratched due to some back tightness. Craig Counsell saying that he was doing some activation exercises just literally about a half an hour ago, talking about, he was talking a little bit before the media, before the game, and felt something grab him mid-back, not low back. It's not the stuff that's bugged him in the past, really. It's mid-back. So if you remember, Christian Yelich last year was going through some lower back issues, other points throughout his career, kind of going through some lower back issues. So we'll see what the prognosis is going to be. Maybe Brewers are just kind of looking at it like, all right, we're just going to maybe shut Yelich down before the All-Star break, give him a few more days there. I don't know. Just kind of throwing out some speculation there. But Brewers did get Hunter Renfroe back from the 10-day IL. He got to start yesterday in center field there for the Brew Crew. So Yelich goes out. Hunter comes back in. Also of note yesterday, too, Josh Hader will not be going to the All-Star game. He's going to pull a little daddy duty. Remember, he's him and his wife with a new child. So he's going to take advantage of some of the time off and spend it with his family. Saying yesterday that, first off, it's an honor to go to the game, to be named as part of an all-star selection. But I think my duty is to be with my family and just be ready for the second half. My family needs me at this time. It's the decision we made. Now, we'll see, before anybody's thinking, did this open up a spot for Devin Williams? No, Carlos Rodon from the Giants was named to the National League All-Star team in Hader's spot. But, I mean, you look at Devin Williams. I mean, he continues to make the case that this man should be in the All-Star game, for crying out loud. Now, he still potentially could, depending on if more players decide to drop out or opt out. You got some other NL hopefuls, kind of like a Zach Wheeler from the Phillies, Logan Webb from the Giants. Now, replacements can be added all the way until Sunday, and even beyond just a little bit there, if necessary, according to Brewers.com here. But yeah, you look at Devin Williams and what that man has been doing so far this season. How can you not put the guy on the All-Star game? How can you not put him in the All-Star game? He's been fantastic. After a little bit of a slow start to the season, dude has been unreal. Last 15 games that he's appeared in, he's given up just 3 hits, no earned runs, 21 strikeouts, 6 walks. You want to add it up to his last 30 appearances? Just 10 hits, 3 earned runs, 45 strikeouts, 0.95 ERA in those last 30 games so far this year. He's 1.87 ERA in 37 games, 56 strikeouts. So Devin Williams, he thinks he should be in the All-Star game, saying it would mean a lot. I've never been an All-Star at any level. There was never a time at any level that I feel like I deserved that. But now I do. I feel like I'm a top 5 reliever in the National League. If there's 5 relievers going, I think I should be one of them, but I'm not the decision maker. So we'll see. But I mean, that dude, how can you not say that Devin Williams doesn't have the resume to get in there, for crying out loud? But we'll see if anybody else opts out or maybe just can't play in the game due to maybe some final end of this final before the All-Star break, a couple final games here maybe just won't work out for some of those pitchers to be able to pitch in the All-Star game. Kind of like Brandon Woodruff last year that helped Freddie Peralta get in there. So, but again, Brewers Twins will wrap up their quick 2-game sets just about 6 hours from now. Aaron Ashby is going to get the start for the Brew Crew. Joe Ryan, he's going to get the start for the Twins coming up this afternoon for the Twins. But Aaron Ashby, if you're looking at his last couple of outings here, a little bit of a mixed bag here, but he was kind of in a little bit of a rough stretch there, but had a nice bounce back game on the 8th against Pittsburgh where he picked up the win, going 5 innings, giving up just 2 earned runs on 3 hits. But prior to that, on the 2nd against Pittsburgh, picking up the loss, giving up 4 earned runs in 3 2/3. Before that, the Mets, 4 1/3, 4 earned runs here. So we'll see if Ashby can pick up his 3rd win of the season. Joe Ryan, 6-3 so far with a 3.09 ERA. He's coming off of a performance against the White Sox on the 6th with a no decision where he went 4 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. And before that, Baltimore, no decision on 7 innings of work, just 1 earned run given up in that performance. So a little bit interesting matchup tonight for this Brewers offensive lineup going up against the youngster Joe Ryan. No experience. Got a couple players with some experience going up against Ashby, but we'll see how it works out. But yeah, the big story from the game last night was the rain delays. And if you follow some of the Brewers beat reporters on good old Twitter or some of the social media, they were having some fun about the lack of a roof over there in Minnesota. In fact, our very own Mr. Brandon Berg was at the game himself. He was at the game himself, and let's just say he really wasn't a big fan of, kind of taking some shots at Minnesota for not having a roof over there, too. So, it was kind of, I was just kind of going through some tweets, and a lot of people were discussing the lack of a roof over there in Minnesota. And I saw kind of this on Twitter there a little bit. Some people were kind of throwing it out there as a question. Should every baseball stadium have a retractable roof? Every single baseball stadium, should they have a retractable roof? I'm talking even Wrigley. I'm talking Fenway. I mean, I know it's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. But like every, let's say, new stadium, if you're going to build a new one or renovate or whatever, however you want to phrase it, should it be required to have retractable roofs? That was kind of a question I saw being floated out there on the social medias during the rain delays yesterday, kind of going a little bit back and forth between people out there. But yeah, 3 times of rain delay last night in between there, but hey, they still got the game in, and the Brewers were able to get the W there. But yeah, that was kind of fun watching that social media back and forth there. Oh man. So yeah, we'll talk some baseball. Plenty of baseball coming up here throughout the morning. It is a making the turn Wednesday, as we said in the opener. So whose stock report is rising? Whose stock report is falling? Let's get those stock reports in, okay? Hit us up with some texts, 715-830-1912, or on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports, and also at the YouTube video stream. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel over there too, okay? Doesn't cost anything. That's why I don't like the word subscribe all the time, because it always, I don't know, I always get the impression that you got to pay for something. Don't got to pay for it, though. Don't have to pay for it here, right? So we're just going to have, throw in a bunch of other, fun little stuff here or there. Tiger Woods, talking a little bit. We're getting ready for the Open, so let's get some predictions for the Open over there at St. Andrews. I knew St. Andrews was, that's kind of like on my bucket list of places I would love to go, but there was some stuff I was reading yesterday about some of the legends and stories surrounding St. Andrews Golf Course. Like there's like bodies and bones built or buried under the 18th green. I didn't know that. I saw that yesterday. That was one of the stories there. It was way back in the day, and it was like a was it, they say, a cholera pit, I think they called it. But they were doing some like renovations and such, like in the 1800s. I'll have to double check it, but I was listening to it and I was reading a little bit about it because I saw a clip of an interview. Then I kind of was Googling some of that stuff, and it's like, holy moly, there's like some more stuff about St. Andrews Golf Course that I had no idea was actually a thing. It just kind of adds more to the to the to the lore, to the legend of St. Andrews. But obviously a lot of talk about Tiger being there, and they got some pictures of him and Jack and all that good stuff. Tiger, though, talking about the Live Tour, taking some shots at the golfers that are a part of the Live Tour, saying, I just don't understand how Live players could give up playing in major championships. I said that, a couple quotes from Tiger. I disagree with it. I think what they've done is they've turned their back on what has allowed them to get to this position. Who knows what's going to happen in the near future with world ranking points, the criteria for entering major championships. The governing body is going to have to figure that out. Some of these players may not ever get a chance to play in major championships. That is a possibility. We don't know that for sure yet. It's all up to the major championship bodies to make that determination, but that is a possibility that some players will never, ever get a chance to play in a major championship. Never get a chance to experience this right here. Walk down the fairways at Augusta National. To me, I just don't understand it. Tiger went on to say, I know what the PGA Tour stands for and what we have done and what the tour has given us, the ability to chase after our careers and earn what we get and the trophies we've been able to play for in the history that has been a part of the game. The one thing too is he was talking, he kind of took a shot at the format of the Live Tour, talking about how it's just a 54-hole event instead of, going through the grind of 72 holes. He talked about, a lot of like him himself and some other golfers, working their way and trying to, it's easy. And I know some people will say, well, it's Tiger Woods. He can say some of this stuff and look what he's been able to accomplish and all that sort of stuff. But some of the other stuff, well, I can, what's the incentive to go out there? Yeah, this was the quote I was looking for that he said, but he was talking about the 54-hole format for Live Golf. He said, what is the incentive to practice and earn it in the dirt? Talking about the guaranteed money from the Live Tour too. So, yeah. I think that's probably one of the first times we've heard Tiger really kind of talk about the Live Tour. But he's also asked about retirement And no, he kind of shot that down. But it all feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too dramatic on this thing, but just kind of following it on the socials and listening and hearing and seeing everything about it, it almost seems like a farewell tour for Tiger Woods. And maybe it's more so a farewell tour for this particular golf course at St. Andrews in terms of Tiger playing an Open at the old course at St. Andrews. Maybe that's more like it, but I mean, it almost feels like this is like a uh, like a farewell sort of thing for Tiger. He did shoot down retirement talk, but I mean, I think we all know, and he mentioned it. He's not going to play a full schedule. He's going to be focusing on the majors and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. It just kind of felt like this is almost like almost a goodbye sort of thing. Could be completely off, but I think we're all, maybe it's just to the point too, like we don't know when that end's going to happen. Like we know it's going to happen at some point and sooner rather than later, but I don't know. So we'll get your open picks in because, well, they're going to be teeing off early tomorrow, very early. Some of those tee times out there. So we're making some predictions today. So get your picks in. Who do you think is going to win the Open? And then second part, do you think Tiger will finish in the top 20? Do you think he'll finish in the top 20 at the Open at St. Andrews? St. Andrews. So, all right, we got a bunch of other stuff we're going to get into. We'll chat a little football and that good stuff. We've gotten quite a bit of signups so far for our fantasy football league, so keep them coming. Got a few more days to do that. What you have to do there is go to sportstalk1051.com. All right, sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Nation tab and just enter your email. And then in the next coming days here, I will email you personally the info, the league info, and all that good stuff. So it's just kind of a sign-up sheet right now of anybody who wants to participate in our fantasy football league. Because believe it or not, it's approaching here pretty quick because 2 weeks from today, training camp opens for the green and gold. It's happening. It's happening. No, fantasy football, I've been seeing some more talk kind of getting sparked up there. People getting maybe their draft boards ready and all that stuff. I will say this one thing, like, you've got all your rankings for fantasy football, player rankings, top tens and all that. I think people are sleeping on Aaron Jones a little bit this year. Maybe it's the homerism in me. Very well could be, but I feel, I haven't seen Aaron Jones listed as a top 10 running back in fantasy in a lot of these rankings or posts, if you will. And maybe it has to do with, yes, it's AJ Dillon's over there too, and AJ Dillon's going to be maybe a little bit more involved in the offense, but I feel like some people are sleeping on Aaron Jones this year. Like, I feel like he's going to be more involved in the passing game. He's going to still be involved in the running game. But I feel like he's going to be a guy on this offense for Green Bay that Matt LaFleur might get a little creative with and might move him around a little bit. And we're going to see A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones on the field together, lined up in the backfield. And then, maybe you motion Aaron Jones out, because if you get Aaron Jones matched up with a linebacker and create those mismatches, I think you utilize that. You attack that. You try to create those mismatches. I mean, I can already imagine Jones and Dillon lined up in the backfield, and then maybe you send Jones out, motion. You take away a linebacker out of the box, and then you hand it off to A.J. Dillon, who's a bruiser. You take one of those defenders out. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. But I still feel like Aaron Jones is primed to have a good season, because I think he's going to be relied upon to be more of a playmaker. He may not have 1,200, 1,300 yards rushing, but I think we're going to see an increase in the receiving game and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I feel like some of the pundits out there are kind of sleeping a little bit on Aaron Jones when it comes to a little bit of fantasy football here. But I don't know. Again, maybe it's the homerism part in me. But I'm excited about fantasy football this year. I really am. Getting into it. Really getting into it. So okay, let's get things rolling here this morning. Also, I want to bring up a report about how baseball might alter the shift. It has something to do with what is called the pie slice rule. If you don't know what that is, we'll explain it. But it's a way for Major League Baseball, they're going to experiment with this, but a way for, the good old single up the middle. More of those, I guess, opportunities to happen. But if you didn't hear about this, and if you don't know what it is, we'll explain it coming up here. But it sounds like Major League Baseball is going to start to experiment with this, and maybe this is a counter to banning the shift sort of thing. So I want to bring that up too. So we'll talk some Brewers and Twins, and we'll talk about this latest rumor of whether you like the pie slice rule. Pie slice rule. So we'll take that first break, and then coming up in just a couple minutes, we'll get things rolling here on that Wisconsin Credit Union opening drive after these quick words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back after these words.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
When you're on the job, time is money. Get back to work faster when you buy online and pick up at your local Menards store. Simply order and pay for the materials you need on the Menards app or menards.com. Then drive to your favorite Menards store and load up your materials or have it delivered directly to the job site. Save time and money when you order online with Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Get ready to save half with half-off deals. It's a great way for you to get goods and services that you will love, and you don't have to pay full price. Start saving this Friday, July 15th, with Superior Sealers. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save with this week's half-off deals. For more details and to find out all the savings, just go to around715.com.
This message is sponsored by WisCaregiver.com. Are you ready to start a meaningful career? Now you can get paid while you receive free certified nurse aid training. WisCaregiver.com will connect you with employers all across Wisconsin. You choose the location where you'll earn while you learn to become a CNA and receive a $500 bonus. Get paid while you receive free certified nurse aid training through WisCaregiver.com. Get your free start in healthcare. Register today at WisCaregiver.com.
Anyone ever tell you it's so bright in here, I gotta wear shades?
I love all these windows, but on a sunny day, you've got to wear shades inside.
So why not call Auto Trim of Eau Claire?
Auto Trim? They do tinting for vehicles?
And homes and businesses.
Really?
Whether for heat or glare, Auto Trim in Eau Claire can fix it.
You should see how hot it gets in here during the summer.
Auto Trim on Melby Street in Eau Claire can help you. Call for an estimate today. If you've got heat or glare, call Auto Trim of Eau Claire.
With a wholesale formula seminar, discover how to start your own Amazon business.
As you just heard there, mark your calendar, July 20th. That's next week. Week from today. Car show, ASAP Used Auto Parts. Put that on your calendar. And speaking of ASAP Used Auto Parts, you're looking to get an oil change, get some tires, battery, or save some money on some auto parts for some repairs and that. ASAP Used Auto Parts is your go-to location right here in the Chippewa Valley. Check them out. And they're at what's like the rule to like stop saying new location, because they've been there for a year or so, give or take, a little over a year. So it's like the whole when you stop saying Happy New Year sort of thing. Anyways, check them out on their location, Menominee Street here in Eau Claire. It's a fantastic location. Awesome customer service, awesome people to work with over there too. So if you're looking for that oil change, looking for those tires, batteries, or saving on some auto parts, it's ASAP Used Auto Parts, and we'll see you at the car show on July 20th. All right. Let's get things rolling here this morning a little bit on that Wisconsin Credit Union leadoff. So what is I'm going to start off with this potential new rule change that was first reported by the Athletic that Major League Baseball is going to propose here. So Major League Baseball is testing a modified pie slice infield shift ban in the minors. Now, Major League Baseball has been testing shift limits all season at the AA and the Class A, requiring teams to have 4 players on the infield, including 2 on each side of second base. But the Florida State League will limit defensive shifts by drawing chalk lines in a pie shape from second base to the outfield grass, starting on July 22nd, prohibiting infielders from the marked area pre-pitch in an experiment that could increase offense, which a lot of people are calling bringing back the good old base hit up the middle, single up the middle. So the pie slice, reading a little bit more from the Athletic, allows infielders to set up right next to second base so they can hold runners and more easily get to the bag to field throws. But if they want to station themselves up the middle for defensive positioning purposes, the rule forces them to play 20 feet or so more shallow than many of them play now. And why is that? Because the deeper they position themselves, the further they're pushed to the left or right of the bag by the chalk line. Seen some pictures of how it would kind of look. And yeah, it's you're going from second and then you expand it like a pie slice, right? Like that triangle going to the outfield there. Trying to bring back the good old hitting up the middle. So what do you think about this? Is it too cute? Is it intriguing for you baseball fans? Is this something that you would like to see? Or are you just like, you know what? If you're going to ban the shift, just make it so it's like what they're doing in AA and Class A. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Just keep it simple like that. Or do you want to see how this pie-shaped thing kind of potentially plays out? So again, this is going to be happening in the Florida State League. The experiment in the Class A FSL was first reported by The Athletic and confirmed by Major League Baseball. So I don't know. I guess for me, I personally would like to see how this kind of plays out. I'd like to see it in person. I mean, I'm also one that I don't like getting too cute on rules and like overdoing it at some points. Like, I just keep going to like the NFL and the pass interference rule, like where it got to a point, I was like, okay, now this is ridiculous. Like, I get it. That call with the Saints and the Rams was, or I should say non-call was absolutely ridiculous, but I'm also not one to like completely overreact to it. Like, all right, we got to like really alter the rules and we're going to do this, because it got worse after that, because then everything was getting called as like pass interference. I don't like it when we get too cute or we add all these different rules where it kind of makes it complicating or like you're adding a bunch of stuff. I don't know, but I guess I'm of the mindset of like, I want to see it. I want to see how this works. That's why they're testing it. Then, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's intriguing. I saw Jason Stark. He just posted about it again, saying the hitters would love this. Who the others? Because he was retweeting one tweet from looks like it from radio host Chris Mack, saying this is ridiculous. Next, we'll be putting spots on the dirt and telling the infielders where to stand. Jason Stark, who writes for The Athletic, probably know him from I believe it was like ESPN days, right? I know a lot of people agree with you, Chris. You know who doesn't? The hitters, who can't use the middle of the field anymore. The other sports make rule tweaks all the time to limit what defenses can't do. Why shouldn't baseball have the freedom to try innovations like this? So what side are you on? Would you like to see this implemented in Major League Baseball? Or are you of like, okay, let's see how the minors do it, or like, no, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Drawing areas that infielders are allowed to be in and not be in. Hit me up with some texts or tweets or Facebook or anything like that. So, Brewers and Twins, they'll be going at it here in a matter of hours after their 3 rain delays last night. That's kind of our other question here too. I was reading some stuff on good old social media during the many rain delays. But, there was like some people saying this is, it's going to pop up for every like rain delay, and it just happened to be a Brewers and Twins game. And, it's always kind of been talked about since their new stadium over there. They didn't add a roof to it. It's always kind of been asked like, or brought up like, what the heck's going on? Why aren't they putting a roof on? Why didn't they do that? Et cetera, et cetera. But, you had 3 separate rain delays last night. So it sparked the conversation again, or the griping and all that stuff. But I was reading like a little back and forth between some people like, well, should new stadiums be required to have retractable roofs? And the one thing too, like, yeah, I was thinking about this, and I kept going back and forth on it in my mind. I'm a believer, yes, that Minnesota, that Target Field should have had a retractable roof. But I also feel like at times, like, and we've seen it in Milwaukee, where sometimes they'll close the roof when it's like, you know what, it's nice out. Let's play ball. Let's open the roof and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want it to get to a point where, teams all of a sudden just close it almost every single time and we don't have the roof out because, come on, you got to play outside, right? You got to play outside there a little bit. So if they're going to do it, if you add roofs, retractable roofs to all the new stadiums, I don't want them to be so stingent on like, oh, we're going to close it. Even though it's like 65 degrees outside, but the wind's a little bit, yeah, we're going to close it. Come on. Got to play in the elements a little bit, for crying out loud. Right? You got to play in the elements just a little bit. We were kids. We were out there on the sand lots and the Little League fields doing that. So don't get too reliant on the roofs. That's just my opinion. I'm all about comfortability and all that, but games are meant to be played outside for baseball and football. But no, it was. We'll have to ask Brandon about what was, because I saw some of the pictures too, like the concourses were flooding a little bit. Now, I guess if anybody was at the game last night, let me know what it was like. But Brandon will be in on Friday, and he was at the game yesterday, so we'll ask him what we thought. But yeah, he was on Twitter kind of venting a little bit about the lack of roof over there in good old Minnesota. But now, what side of the aisle are you on? You think with new stadiums, whether it's football or baseball, that new ones should have retractable roofs? Because they're talking about it in Chicago for the Bears. See, to me, that would be weird. That would be weird if Chicago played in a dome. And maybe it's just because I'm used to the old school battles between the Packers and the Bears. I mean, when you talk about football, you talk about like weather. It's almost like a badge of honor. It doesn't necessarily mean like home field advantage for like Green Bay or Chicago, but it's like, oh yeah, we love those cold games. We love, the snow games. When you talk about Chicago, we always talk about that schedule release. We always say, and Aaron Rodgers talks about it too, when do they go to Chicago? You have the lake, you got the lake effect winds over there and all that sort of stuff. So to me, it'd be really, really, really weird to see if Chicago had like a dome on there. I don't know if I could get into that. And I'm maybe more old school. Hey, I get it. Comfortability. Going to a January game and you don't have to like wear 10 layers of clothing and have a heated vest and hand warmers and all that sort of stuff. I've done it. I've experienced. I get it with the comfortability, but for me, I'm a little bit more old school, and that's football weather for me. So if I have to do it just a couple times a year, I'm good with it. But it would be really, really, really weird for me to see if the Bears had a roof. I don't know. I just keep flashing the old iconic images in my head. What do you think? All right, hit us up on some text. We got to take a quick break. But let me know about this pie slice rule. What do you think of that? The pie slice rule that Major League Baseball is going to be experimenting with a little bit. You like it? You're like, nah, well, I guess I'm willing to see what it looks like. Or you're like, no, getting way too cute here, people. What side are you on? Let me know. I'm really curious to get your thoughts on that. So take that quick break. Then we'll close up the first hour, looking at some of your thoughts, some of your comments. We got a little match game coming up next hour as well. Stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes. So you just heard it, River Country Co-op. If you stop at the Chick Falls, Greenwood locations over there, head on in and grab some snacks and sign up to potentially win $50 gift card and gas. Okay, so stop at those 2 locations. You got some time yet. You got to do it today, tomorrow, and such. And then keep listening for new locations throughout the rest of the summer. And speaking of that, let's give away another gas gift card here this morning. I got 2 more left. Okay, I got 2 more left. We'll do one today, and we'll do one on Friday. So this is where you have to go to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and sign up. And when you just click on the Nation tab, and you'll see the River Country Co-op logo on there. And sign up. If you've already signed up and you haven't won yet, you're good to go. You're still active. You got a few minutes yet here. We'll give this away maybe in the 8 o'clock hour. How about that? So you got a little bit more than a few minutes here, but go ahead and do so. Sign up for your chance to win $50 in gas from River Country Co-op. A few texts here before we take a quick phone call here. Kind of all across the board here. The shift rule stuff is ridiculous. Teams should be able to do whatever they want to on defense, make the hitter find the hole. Here's a weird concept. Players should learn to hit the ball the opposite way. To me, it's taking the sport and dumbing it down. Why not just paint the field and not play defense like dart ball? Drew from Eau Claire, I'm all for trying some minor tweaking to see if it makes a big difference, but we need a large data set to see how many balls would have made it into shallow outfield if the players weren't shifted. I'm also for forcing batters to adapt to defensive moves. If the defense wants to set all 7 guys between first and second against the lefty, then the lefty better slow down his swing enough to send one the other way. As for the roof thing, I'm all for the new fields having roofs if they can be retracted. It means you never have to worry about bad weather screwing with the game or hurting the players. Surveyor Sam, why does this have to be difficult? Just make the second baseman and shortstop stay on their side of second base till after the pitch. Draw an imaginary line from home to second and extend that out to the wall, and that should be it. Why make things complicated? So if you have any thoughts, hit us up with some text, tweets, Facebook, or you can also comment on the YouTube live video stream. Take a quick phone call this morning. What side of the pie slice are you on here, sir, Mr. Seabaum?
Well, good morning, El Capitano, and I'll tell you about the pie slice here. I hate it. And here's the other thing. Major League Baseball can't have their pie and eat it too. They complain about pace of play, right? So if you're doing this, what are you doing? You're trying to create more offense, which makes the game long. So I think it's dumb. I think that the whole pace of play argument, why are they even messing with it? Because let's be honest. Kids playing baseball that they're trying to attract to watch the games, they don't watch the games because of the pace of it. They watch it because they learn about the essence of baseball and about the game. What are you going to do? Shave 5 minutes off a game? I mean, it's starting to really get annoying to me.
So let me ask you this. So let me ask you this question, just to play a little devil's advocate here. If you had the choice between low-scoring pitching performances, but they're a little bit long, or their game's shorter, maybe about 25 minutes. I think they said the average would be if they added the pitch clock and all that sort of stuff. So say you shave 25 minutes off a game, but they're low-scoring pitching duels, or you have a game that's a half an hour longer, but you get more runs. Which one would you prefer?
That's the beauty of baseball, Dan, for me, is you don't know what you're going to expect. Mm-hmm. I know every Sunday when I watch the Packers, if they play at noon, by 3 o'clock, I'm going to the next game. Baseball isn't that. And that's what's great about it. One night, you might get a pitcher's duel. It's a 1-0 game, and you're on the edge of your seat, watching every pitch. The next night, it's 14-12. So, I mean, that's one of the things I love about the game. And to other Texans, Surveyor's dead on. Why do they have to do this cute pie thing? My question is, if people haven't seen it, it looks, and I needed to see a picture of it because I thought they were cutting the infield into a pie, but no, it's actually a pie placed behind second base. And second base is the tip of the pie, and it moves out to the outfield grass. So that's the pie shape. What gets me is, okay, what if there's a guy on second base, and you know how the shortstop and second base would swing behind them and come up to the bag? What they can't do that anymore? Because now they're going to cross that line before the finish.
Yeah, from what I was reading, I think the second baseman can stay at second base and like hold the runner there, but then you're opening up another area. So I mean, there's other factors.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's kind of like, you got your runner's lane. Like you can't go out of your lane, and it's imaginary.
Mm-hmm.
What surveyor said? Why can't they just say, hey, you got to stay on your side of second base? Why do they have to? I don't know. I think it's dumb. You go back to hit it where they aim. If they stack up one side of the infield, punt it the other way or slap it the other way. I mean, we're dumbing the game down because. And honestly, I don't know why. I have yet to hear a good explanation of why. Number one, why they want to shorten the game, and how much are they really shortening it them by? And number two, what's the purpose of this? You bringing the hit up the middle, really? How about the art of slapping it the other direction? We sure would have loved it if people started shifting on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to get everybody else's response on this. We might have a little bit of a debate on our hands here too. So yeah, I keep going back and forth on this, man. I kind of, like I was one of those is like, yeah, I mean, just hit it the other way, but then it's like, okay, well, do I want a little bit more offense? And that's, I don't know. I keep flip flopping. I'm kind of taking a page out of your book on this one, where I'm flip flopping back and forth a little bit.
I'd like to hear from some of the younger players, the people that are playing the game right now. I'm an old guy, man. I'm approaching my late 40s here. So for me, I'm starting to be the guy that I'm thinking old school, and that's kind of scary to think. But what do the younger generations think? Do they care about the pace of play? Do they like the shift rule? We are not fully entrenched in the group of kids that have been brought up with bats and are just absolutely stupid. And then you give them these wood bats. Once they get to the pros, they find out if they can or can't hit. But I'd like to get the input of some of the guys, maybe high school kids playing or college listeners, if they're out there, they should shoot you a text and see what their opinions are.
Yeah, that's a good call. So, all right, dude. Hey, appreciate it. Got anything else really quick?
Oh no, it was just a great conversation, a great topic to throw up. I'm curious to hear everyone else's opinion. I'm finding out I'm that old curmudgeon, but I want to see if anyone else finds the way I'm thinking on that.
All right, well, I think so far the majority are kind of with you right now, so we'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the morning. But appreciate the phone call.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Dan. You have a great day.
You too. There you go. So, what side of the pie slice are you on? What side of the pie slice are you on with this whole potential? I should say MLB's testing it, but we'll see if it will actually come to anything. But yeah, it's all about banning the shift and not banning the shift. Get your thoughts. You can hit us up with some text, tweets, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. We'll get to those. Coming up in just past the top of the hour here. So we'll check out, see if we got any more messages on there and all that good stuff. Coming up next hour, we'll do a little match game. Don't forget, you've got your stock reports that are due as well. Whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. Maybe for some of you right now, your stock reports for stocks falling will be Major League Baseball. My stock falling, though, is Morgan because she disappointed me. She lied to me.
What? How? When? Probably.
I did not hear a Bigfoot story in the news that you promised that you were going to put in there.
Oh, you wanted it in your news? I had it in one of my other newscasts.
I wore the Bigfoot shirt.
You did. You're right. I'll swap it out. Who needs city council notes when we can talk about this? In case you haven't heard, Oklahoma is the place to be. I think this might actually carry these guys into court, but two buddies were out. This was Oklahoma, noodling, so fishing
with your hands,
your hands for catfish, and got into it. Now, authorities say that they were under the influence. It sounds possible, but I don't know why we have to jump to these conclusions. They got in a fight, got in some kind of a brawl, and instead of fessing up to the police about what happened, because one of the dudes actually died after this, he said that Bigfoot came in and beat his buddy up and killed him.
Yeah. Or was it his buddy tried to conjure up Bigfoot?
To summon him.
Yes.
And that's what happened. And the last I checked in on the police logs, they weren't buying that story. But now it could be a legitimate defense.
I don't know if you've seen it, but whoever's been writing up the police logs for Eau Claire has been creative and kind of fun with that too. I would have loved to have seen that person write that one up.
Well, I will follow this because if there's a legal precedent set that Bigfoot can be a reliable defense, that might be up your alley. But I did see you wore your Bigfoot shirt today, so I'll have to plug that one into plug that into the news for you.
I think we got time for a couple of
Wednesday wildcard action.
Yeah.
Should we go into the deck? All right, I'll shuffle up here. I did bring some with me here. We'll make you dive into the nicely shuffled and speared hand. All right, Kasper. Now for us, you get to answer. What do you look forward to about getting old?
Oh,
I just heard C-Bomb calling himself an old guy with the rule games and things like that.
retirement.
What does retirement look like for you?
Doing absolutely nothing and fishing and hunting and golf.
That's not nothing. That's your version of something.
Well, yeah, but like not having to work.
Okay.
How about that?
Just checking. I'd like to see a day of
And
work
sleeping
out
in
of you.
after past 3 o'clock.
Yeah, that in and of itself is a game changer.
Yep.
Back to the hands. You are not out of retirement yet, my friend, so you got to keep working upon it.
Yeah.
The worst book you've read.
Ooh.
'Cause I know you just finished the Dave Grohl book and said it was pretty good. I'm waiting to get my hands on that right now. But do you have a worst book that you read it and you're like, I'm not into it?
Probably something in school that we had to read, but I'm kind of blanking right now.
Okay, I'll tell you one book. This is not the worst book, but I remember when you said books in school that you had to read. This is so burned into my head. This was anybody that went through 6th grade remembers this. It was one of those like game-changing moments, pivotal moments of your childhood. Where the Red Fern Grows.
See, I refuse to read that one because I've heard stuff.
Oh my
about
gosh.
it, yeah.
You're talking to a room full of 6th grade kids.
Yeah.
There were people that had their heads down on the desk, bawling snot bubbles coming out of the nose by chapter 3. I mean, that is one that we remember.
I did not read that one, and I won't. So.
No, and I can tell you, it still makes me cry. Yeah.
WAYY Eau Claire. W286CK Eau Claire. Sports Talk 105.1, 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Well, another Wisconsin man is looking at charges on a national level for being inside of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Paul Kobiak made his first appearance on charges that he was at the Capitol during last year's riot about 2 weeks ago as federal investigators tracked him down using Google data that showed his phone inside the Capitol building during the riot. Now, there's no evidence that he hurt anyone or destroyed anything, and in fact, he posted several videos from that time inside the Capitol. He's the 9th person from Wisconsin
Second hour kicking off on this Making the Turn Wednesday. Appreciate you tuning in and wherever and however you're tuning in on this July 13th. Got to give a shout out to G-Man there. Appreciate the drop off for the birthday gift, buddy. I know I already texted you, but big thanks there, G-Man. So appreciate that, and have fun at the Brewers and Twins game tonight with you and your crew, JR and such over there. Make sure the Brewers bring home that W. So the ride home with JR is just a little bit more sweeter there, G-Man. All right. So got a couple more people chiming in about the pie slice rule on our video stream there. Dennis saying, I'm with C-Bomb, hit it where they ain't. Another text, eliminate the DH and play a rover, just like softball. So, all right, where are you on that side of the aisle? You can continue that conversation with some text, tweets, Facebook. I got the YouTube live video stream you can comment on as well with Dennis over there. So, a bunch of different ways for you to chime in on that. We'll get back to that coming up in just a little bit. First, let's do some sports nuggets of the day to kick off the second hour. Not a whole lot, but 1930, the first soccer World Cup competition began in Uruguay. 13 teams were in the competition. Early win with the Cleveland, I guess now Guardians, won his 300th baseball game this day in 1963. And something that will never, ever, 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 ever happen again. 1972, two NFL owners traded teams. Rosenblum of the Baltimore Colts and Robert Irsay of the Rams traded teams. Can you imagine if the Irsays would have kept the Rams? Jim Irsay now, his son owns the Colts. How things would have been different back in the day there, Lucas?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if the Rams would have moved to St. Louis.
Who knows? They may have gone elsewhere. I mean, the Irsay's not well. I mean, Jim was both of the Irsays are in interesting cats. Let's just say that. So I think the Rams could have moved in all sorts of other places. I don't know if they would have been in St. Louis, but they may have gone somewhere else. Stan Kroenke would probably have not entered the equation, and I don't know if we would have had SoFi Stadium and the current setup we have right now. But that would have been a more interesting path. Let's say that.
Yeah. So interesting. But that'll never, ever, ever happen again, though.
I can't see it. No.
I mean, what would be comparable trades? I really don't know, because everything goes up in price.
Yeah, but then again, to them, I mean, it's all relative too. I mean, if it's $3 billion versus $2.9 billion, okay, we'll match that. Right. The stakes are higher, but the relativity is still there. Everything is up.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
yeah.
All right. So that's all I got for this day in sports history. So I know, I'm going to throw you into the fire. I know you are one that is in favor of banning the shift, right, Lucas?
Yes, I am.
So what do you think about this pie slice rule?
It's the only way to really get around teams, understandably, trying to push the boundary on banning the shift. You or try to take it if you play, you try to you take advantage of every loophole you can get. You go as far as you can, still being legal to the rules of the game. And so what would happen is if you ban the shift, if it's depending on if it's a left-hander or right-hander, you'd have either the shortstop or the second baseman, like right at the very center line, maybe a millimeter over, and they're still technically on their position side of the field, but they're really nowhere close to where they ordinarily would be. So odd as it kind of is, it's like the only way you can do that would be to effectively ban the shift. So yeah, I mean, it'll look different.
So do you like it?
Yeah, I like it because you have to do it. If you're gonna ban the shift, you gotta put those lines in to make sure the players actually stay in their spot, because they won't. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, they will not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be like pseudo shifts is what we would see otherwise, and understandably, you're trying to again dumb up an entire side of the field. Mm-hmm. So you got to put the lines. Well, now we'll see how effective it is, but I think it probably will be. And so that's what we're going to see next year in Major League Baseball.
I agree.
Oh.
You think next year though, right away?
Yeah.
You think the pie rule will be there right away?
Yeah, I think so. Because they're gonna ban the shift next year in all likelihood. And again, this is the only way you can actually enforce it. So we're gonna see this come up pretty quickly. The thing is, as much as it sounds odd, we'll get used to it probably really fast. The thing that's going to be weird is going to be the pitch clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as much as I prefer a faster game, there are other consequences with that. I don't want to say I'm resigned to it, because if I have to come down one way or the other, I'm pro versus anti. But that will be a much more noticeable part of the game. That will change the experience of watching. The pie rule, actually, the game, by and large, will seem more what we grew up watching. Mm-hmm. And also how the game really should be played. I still think the ideal for baseball is have the shift as an option, but it should be deployed when absolutely necessary. The shift is inherently not the problem. It's that efficiencies have discovered that if you use it, it effectively gets rid of a lot of base hits, which is why it's part of the reason why base hits, not the entire reason, but it's part of the reason why base hits are actually considered in some ways a negative. I mean, I was joking last week with Adam about this. We're watching an old highlight referencing something. I was like, hey, remember back when you used to hit the ball down on the ground to, run to first base, and it was called a single? Remember those days? Because that's not considered as efficient anymore, and that's in part because of the shift. So, but in older days, back when you'd deploy it against Ted Williams or certain other players, great. I like having that as an option, but it's been abused in sports parlance. It's been abused, and so something's got to be done. I think the best thing would be to give teams the option of using the shift like 3 or 4 times a game. Like, okay, you can use it now for this batter, and if he breaks through it, okay, well, then you lost your shot there, but you can only use it so many times. That'd be the best, but given the options, I think you have to ban it right now just to get some offense, some more excitement back.
So let me throw the question to you that I threw to C-Bomb. I don't know if you heard it or not.
I didn't catch that question.
Because we're all talking about pace of play, and he brought up if you're going to have more offense, it's going to increase, games might be longer. So what would you rather have? Longer games, but more runs, or shorter games, lower runs?
It's an interesting question because both are desirable. You want stuff to be done relatively quickly. I guess it also depends on one's attention span, and I'm always more short attention span guy anyway, so I tend to prefer stuff to go faster. Or I shouldn't say faster. I like stuff getting done quicker. However, a 4-hour back and forth football game is a blast. Some of the most memorable games I've seen over the past few years were really long games, but they didn't feel long because stuff was always happening. You can get away with a 3.5-hour movie if there's constant action. It's when like an hour and a half goes by of plot development and it's a slog when people start complaining about it. So I'm okay with length of game if there's constant action, which really that's more the issue than the actual game time. Game time is a good measurement because it's a quick measurement. And usually in the game of baseball, the speed of the game equals the pace of the game, typically. That might break off as a result of this. They're disengaged, and we shouldn't be looking at the length of the game anymore. That's fine, though, because the biggest reason why this is happening is because apparently younger folks aren't as, and I know C-Bomb was mentioning what he thinks younger players think of it. I'm more interested in what younger fans think of it. Like players, like, for example, St. Paul Saints players, who this is a story in, I think it was like the Star Tribune or something. They were asked about the pitch clock. People that are experiencing it in the minors right now, who will be playing for the Twins next year and maybe play for other teams, almost universally they don't like it. The players can't stand how it's changed the game. They prefer it to be more just open, all of that. And a lot of them are like, you know what? We don't really notice that the game's lasting too long. Well, if you're playing the game, I would imagine not. You're thinking about a million other things. You're not sitting on your couch or sitting in the stands just watching the game. You're thinking of everything else within the game. So a 15-year-old fan is more interesting to me than a 15-year-old baseball player. If you're a baseball player, you're already in. If you're a fan, you got to be convinced to want to watch a game. And I would think for a 15-year-old, as long as stuff is always happening, you're good. I mean, video games, sometimes they go on for a long time, but if it's exciting, you keep playing or you keep watching someone do it. You keep watching on Twitch or something. That's fine. So, yeah, if I had to choose, if it's a choice between a really boring 3 true outcome 2-hour, 15-minute game or home runs, singles, doubles, all sorts of crazy stuff happening, but it's like 3 hours and 45 minutes, I'll take the latter.
You take the latter?
I will take the latter because at least I know I'm going to be entertained. And that's the reason why that's why we follow sports. If we don't play, we follow it to be entertained. At the core, that's the reason why any of us are doing any of this is for entertainment. If it's boring, we're not in on it.
So our good friend Mark, Mr. Mark Faunus, chiming in.
Yes.
The shift isn't the problem. It's the modern day hitters who can no longer hit the ball to the opposite field.
Yes.
Learn to hit to all fields again and problem solve. The length of the game issue is largely due to the amount of time spent between innings to accommodate commercials.
That too. See, now I don't know, Mark, if you're still listening, I'm curious, do you still support banning the shift given the current situation of the game? Because he's dead right on this. Again, it's not the shift in and of itself is the problem. The problem, part of it is, like I said, the efficiency part, but he hit the other part of it too. It's that batters don't really know how to go opposite field anymore, which part of that's training as well. I mean, that's not a skill that everyone can do, but the focus now is on exit velocity, launch angle, not at all levels of baseball, but if those that really want to go pro, that's the thing they're focused on, is just whacking it out of the field and not batting, trying to get contact, trying to get it around certain spots, trying to beat the shift. It's not even a priority for them. So it's really two factors there. If we were teaching kids all the way to the back, and again, not necessarily local, I think here around, I remember we were having this discussion at one point several months ago, and from what I understand around here, there's more of the regular approach to baseball. It's not like academies where it's all like, all right, what's my exit velo?
Yeah, because I actually, before it was the week before I left for vacay, we put up a poll. Like, if as a baseball fan, do you like knowing or do you pay attention to the advanced analytics or statistics? 78.7% said no.
Yeah.
21.3% said yes.
There was a point where ESPN was really good. Like, it was during the home run derbies a bit, but it was about 4 or 5 years ago. They really started to go in all in on that. And I know they have their analytic broadcast. That's a separate thing. But it seemed like they were really starting to push the launch angle and the exit velocity a lot. And this was right when it was becoming a big deal. I mean, if that were the only metric we followed, I think we would all know what it is. But there are so many metrics to follow. I think it's becoming more confusing too. Like, which war are we talking about? Is it F war or BR war? So, baseball reference war or Fangraph war? We have 2 wars, by the way, we're trying to figure out. There's so many numbers that it all gets confusing. So you want to go back to the basics. Batting average, wins, losses, ERA, the numbers that supposedly don't matter in the modern analytical age. Like, batting average really is not that big of a metric nowadays. Hard to believe, but top folks in Major League Baseball aren't looking at that. Most are looking at a whole bunch of other things. Well, a lot of us fans are like, whoa, what numbers? Huh? There's too many going around.
Mark said he's not in favor of the ban.
Okay.
Doesn't like the ban. Doesn't solve the issue.
Okay. It's a fix. It's not a solution. If that makes any sense. Like it's going to increase offense, but if you really want to fix the problem, Major League Baseball and baseball overall, you got to go back down to the younger levels and teach the game probably how it was done in the first place. But then, of course, you're also getting into issues of Sure, there are plenty of batters who want to hit more home runs because they'll get more attention for that. They'll get better contracts because of that, all of that sort of stuff. You got plenty of analytics folks that are saying, well, the game is now really efficient. It may not be as exciting, but it's really efficient. And a general manager is, we were talking about this last week. We were talking about the decline of the starting pitcher because, again, efficiencies. Efficiencies have shown that third time through the order, starting pitchers more likely to get hit, and as a result, that's why they're leaving the game earlier and earlier and earlier, which is why you don't have as many big starting pitcher versus starting pitcher matchups anymore. You have a way more quote unquote anonymous pitchers, but it's more efficient that way. Your team is more likely to win. And which general manager is going to be the one to say, "Nah, I'm going to go back to the old school approach"? None of them are going to do that because they'll get fired because their team starts losing. Like everyone has to do it, or no one's going to do that. The same goes for batter approaches. They're going to want to keep hitting home runs because batters are going to want the attention, and the general managers, talent scouts, they're going to want that because it increases their odds of their team winning. So there's a whole lot with the sport. I'm not saying the sport is inherently broken, but you see there's a whole lot more that needs to be fixed beyond banning the shift. Perfect world, I'd like to see the shift come back, but again, not be overused. And I'd like to see batters at some point be trained to the point where they can get around the shift. More strategy, less just do this and quick problem fix. That's where baseball's at right now. And I don't mean that just in terms of banning the shift. I mean in terms of efficiencies. Mm-hmm. It's too robotic of a game right now.
Mark Seabaum's giving you some cred on the texting line there too. So 100% correct, says Seabaum.
Do we have I can't remember. Do we have a poll on this?
We could. I'll put it up there. How should I phrase this? I mean, do we just like generically say, are you in favor of the ban or ban of the shift?
I suppose you could, and then maybe give like three options, like no, it's fine as is, yes, or fix the other problem, kind of like what Mark Faunus is getting at. Like, well, the big issue is the batters. We need to work on that.
Okay. I'll work on the wording.
Yeah, something or other like that.
All right. We got to take a quick break, and then coming up next, we will do a little match game. Coming up here. So we'll throw a little golf into this match game in case you missed T-Dub's comments about the Live Tour, kind of calling out some of the golfers on that tour. We'll bring that up coming up in match game after these quick words.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Mark your calendars because on July 20th, ASAP Used Auto Parts is having their car show, a great summer tradition here in Wisconsin. Stop on over to ASAP Used Auto Parts and check out all the amazing vehicles everyone will be bringing on over for the car show. And speaking of ASAP Used Auto Parts, summertime is the time for some vacation and road trips. So if your vehicle needs an oil change, new tires, or battery, well, ASAP Used Auto Parts can help your vehicle get ready to hit the road for those road trips this summer. And if you're looking to save some money on auto parts, and who isn't, ASAP Used Auto Parts has a wide selection of parts to choose from. And if they don't have it, they will work their butt off to help you find just what you're looking for. It's just another example of the great customer service from ASAP Used Auto Parts. So if you're looking for something to do on a Wednesday night in July, check out the car show going on at ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire, located at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. And I'll see you there checking out all of the amazing cars on display.
With a wholesale formula seminar, discover how to start your own Amazon business.
Hey everyone, Ryan and Karen Pottinger here.
Because of the wholesale formula, last year we ran our business while we traveled to and lived in 4 different countries.
Hi, Ian Bauer. My first year averaged $45,000 a month in sales. Now I'm at $90,000 a month and hardly working.
Hi, I'm Amy Sherlock. I attended the wholesale formula seminar.
Okay, so I put a poll up on Twitter. We'll keep you posted on how the votes go as they come through here. But I put up 3 options. Ban it, don't ban it, hit it where they ain't. How about that?
Okay.
Good enough?
Sure.
Perfect. Cool. Because right now the votes are hit it where they ain't. That's where it's at. So, all right. Let's do a little match game here this morning. We're gonna kick it off with a little open chant. The open. St. Andrews. By the way, I'm getting more of appreciation for St. Andrews from some of the stories I've been hearing about that course.
Mm-hmm.
There's bodies buried under the 18th green. I did not know that.
Really?
Yeah. I saw. I was going to look it up during the break, but it was like a cholera pit, I think they said.
Oh.
So when they were doing like renovations, they kept finding bones and bones and bones, and they found out it was like a pit. And so there's still bones under the 18th green.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So don't know if that's good luck or not, but some of these stories, old school stories, I have bigger appreciation for now. 150 years.
Yeah, just put it over there by the femur and you're good.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but Tiger Woods yesterday, he talked about the Live Tour. And this was a quote from Tiger. But what are these? First of all, he's not in favor of the golfers going to the Live Tour. But what these players are doing for guaranteed money, what is the incentive to practice? Talk about practice, man. He didn't say that.
Practice.
What is the incentive to go out there and earn it in the dirt? You're just getting paid a lot of money up front and playing a few events and playing 54 holes. They're blaring music and have all these atmospheres that are different. I just don't see how out of 54 holes, I can understand 54 holes and almost like a mandate when you get to the senior tour, PGA Tour champions. The guys are a little bit older and more banged up. But when you're at this age and some of these kids, they really are kids who have gone from amateur golf into that organization, 72-hole tests are part of it. We used to have 36-hole playoffs for major championships. That's how it used to be, 18-hole U.S. Open playoffs. I just don't see how that move is positive in the long term for a lot of these players, especially if the LIV organization doesn't get world ranking points in the major championships, change their criteria for entering events. It would be sad to see some of these young kids never get a chance to experience it and experience what we've got a chance to experience and walk these hallowed grounds and play in these championships. Do you agree with Tiger Woods?
Yeah.
With everything he just said there?
Essentially, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's getting the other critique of this besides the whole ethics thing and everything, which of course gets really cloudy when you start to consider all the other money that's going around with other sports that we're okay with. If you're going to be consistent, maybe we shouldn't be. The sport itself and what that means. Yeah, you still get paid. I think that's been an undersold part of this. It's mainly been focused on Saudi Arabia as the main critique. There's plenty of reason to critique that, but if you're looking just from the tournament perspective, if you're playing for the pay, not to make ends meet, but if you're playing to get the payout, well, you're getting a payout anyway. So does that diminish how strong you work? I mean, I guess filter out the competitive ones with the non-competitive ones. And Tiger Woods, when we're talking about the most competitive athletes we've seen in history since organized sports really got going a century plus ago, I would say Tiger Woods probably ranks top 10, maybe top 5. So I get where he's like, a lot of these folks are just going to go out there, shoot 54 holes, get paid, live the high life, be in that jet, that video of that jet that was going around. It looks like the first floor of a restaurant, but it's actually a jet. Yeah, that he doesn't like that. And I understand that. So broadly speaking, yeah, I do agree with him on that. And again, there are issues with the PGA Tour as well. It's not perfect, but by and large, I agree with Tiger.
What sports league is perfect, though, to be honest with you?
None really are. You could do a better job of just about every single one based on what the players get, the rules, etc. There's a certain amount of inertia that's come with some of these, and now they've gotten too big to really be challenged. PGA just happened to not be it had a weak spot
Mm-hmm.
that the NFL doesn't have, the NBA doesn't have, Major League Baseball doesn't have, NHL doesn't have. PGA had a weak spot in terms of the money that was around, and it turned out a lot of golfers because they're more individual. It's not like a team could just be like, nah, I'm not going to be in this league anymore. Players go, I'm going to go over to this tour. Easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's fan allegiance to the PGA like there's fan allegiance to the NBA or the NFL. So it's easier to, if the PGA withered away in the next year, but you still had all the golfers showing up at the Masters. And I know he was talking about, well, maybe some of these, maybe the point system doesn't quite work out. You might see a lot of good golfers not making the Masters. That's a valid concern. Now that can also be easily addressed, but if it's not, if the decision is ultimately made, let's not count the Live Tour. Okay, now we do have a scenario where big time players are not going to all of the major tournaments, but that's what we mainly focus on. Same goes with like the tennis circuits. Most of us care about the 4 big major champions, the Grand Slam. We're not concerned about the WTA tennis. No, we just want to know who's winning Wimbledon, who's winning the Masters.
Well, when it comes to men's tennis, you have pretty much 3 options the last 20-some years.
Yeah.
We were talking about that I think on Monday.
Yeah.
I was at 63 since 2003. 63 of the men's winners have been either Roger Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic.
Yeah. That's it.
They're all pure domination.
Yeah. And
Nadal got 22, Djokovic got 21, Federer's got 20.
And then on the other side, it's like Serena.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of the same. Thankfully, a lot of the good same. At least it's not completely boring. But, you still, that's what we care most about. Like the tournament that Tiger was doing kind of better in this past weekend. What was it?
That's the Scottish thing?
Yeah. See, like
Scottish Open?
Right. Yeah. I didn't know what that was, but most people don't. I mean, it's not a knock on it, but.
Well, I think like with the PGA Tour too, how many people, like just casual fans, realize too, like the majors aren't necessarily from the PGA Tour.
Right.
You know, when you think of like NFL, Super Bowl, well, that's NFL. NBA, it's all one thing, but like the Masters, that's not a PGA Tour thing.
There's only one of them.
Yeah.
It's the PGA Championship, which is the 4th biggest of the 4 in terms of prestige. And how one measures prestige, good luck. But that's, if we had to rank, Masters easily number 1.
I would say the Open maybe number 2, depending on where it's at. Like St. Andrews, I mean, come on, that's prestige right there.
Yeah, if it's a matter of like this year, St. Andrews versus Southern Hills,
that's St. Andrews
in terms of ranking.
10.
But if it's a year when it's like Pebble Beach versus, I know the Open doesn't really go around to that many courses, but if it's like a new course in the UK, well, then US Open that particular year. But by and large, and I think also the history of it overall,
it's iconic courses more than anything.
Yeah, it's the Open, then fairly closely behind the US Open, and 4th, I'd say distantly in 4th, but it's a solid 4th, is the PGA Championship, and that's the only one that has a direct tie to the PGA.
And I think
Tour.
you can see the perfect example this year of Tiger backing out of the US Open just for the Open.
Right.
You know, that's based off the course.
Again, other way around, if it's, I'll just say Pebble Beach because that's one of the best known courses. He's probably doing the U.S. Open in that instance if it were that and some other course in the U.K. this year.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
Like that one, wasn't in Ireland the other year or something?
Yeah.
It was something like that. Yeah, he'd probably, if it were that and or Pebble Beach, he'd do Pebble Beach and then skip the Open.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yep, no doubt about it. So
yeah,
I agree with Tiger. I like Tiger's comments. I agree with them. You know, I like you said, everybody's kind of talking about the other part of it with the money sort of thing, but he kind of brought up the point of like, you know, what's the incentive to work at your craft and to practice and all that. And I think he's a little bit more old school too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people are like, well, it's easy for Tiger Woods of all people to say that stuff, and I get it and I understand that, but it's not like Tiger just like randomly like became good. You know, he worked his butt off. He worked throughout his career. He's like a Jordan. You know, practice.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's how you become great.
What was it? Like that was speaking of that clip with that airplane thing. Wasn't one guy that was like singing "We Are the Champions" and he finished like awful, but he still won $900K for crying out loud?
Yeah. That's
the other thing too. Is like, hey, it's great. It's for money. I mean, a lot of us would be like, oh, You're telling me I just have to half my work and I get paid all that money? Yeah, give it here, man.
I mean,
But
well, and the thing is, you still have to be good to get paid on the Live Tour. I mean, it's not like anyone...
Well, some people are getting the guaranteed money and it don't matter.
Right. But like, it's not like random folks are just going to, I mean, you still are going to have to get that for the most part. I mean, early on, there's a lot of money going around to get people on board. But at a certain point, it still also has to look good. Otherwise, if at a certain point, no one's paying attention, quote unquote, no one's paying attention.
Whoever finished last in the Portland one got a cool $120K.
Yeah. For now, that's good. At some point, though, I think that like people have to keep paying attention. We can't have a YouTube stream or a Facebook stream. At some point, it's got to be a much bigger deal, because otherwise, if I'm the folks running this thing, the Saudi sovereign wealth fund or whatever that is, move on to something else. And if people aren't doing it or paying attention to it, I'd move on to something else.
Dude finished 21 over after 54 holes and he got $120K. I could do that.
Well, you probably could. Actually.
Could.
Yeah.
Man, what am I doing?
Oh no, are you going to sign up for the Live Tour now?
No. I don't even know this person, to be honest with you. Jedediah Morgan. That's who finished last in the Portland one.
Come up with like a fake golf persona, try to get on the Live Tour, see if you can get paid 6 digits just for one tournament. See if anyone notices.
He's 22 years old and he just got $120K for finishing last in a tournament.
Cool.
He's a DNP in the Masters, DNP in the PGA, missed the cut in 2022, DNP in the Open. He does have one professional win. I don't know where that's at. Oh, the Australian PGA Championship. Okay. All right. Well, that's January of this year.
Okay. Welcome to the Live Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets paid.
I mean, these are the score. Okay, he shot 22 under, but those are like, so those courses. Okay, so they're, don't want to say easy, but I mean, putting up big numbers, it's fairly easy compared to some of the other championships.
Well, the thing that annoys me more about this, I mean, just in terms of the golf, is the 54-hole thing. That's like if we're doing 3 quarters in a basketball game. What? How am I supposed to compare that?
Mm-hmm. Next one, we're going to the football world, but to the media side. There was a Washington Post profile on one Adam Schefter. I don't know if you hear anything about that?
I just saw late last night. I saw a post from Awful announcing about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is not going well." And then I had other stuff I wanted to read, and I didn't get to the whole thing. But yeah, describe for the people.
So I didn't read the whole thing, but I read the Cliff Notes version because I didn't want to sit and read all about Adam Schefter. Okay?
Yeah.
But I read, the Cliff Notes version of this, and it was I was reading it from Sports Illustrated, which is interesting to see one sports entity talk about another sports personality and another sports entity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but it was kind of meant to, I think Schefter thought it would be a way for him to boost his image, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of went a different way. So the profile, I'm reading a little bit here from Sports Illustrated. The profile takes you inside the world of ESPN's top NFL newsbreaker and gets his take on several recent misfires. The piece gives off the vibe that it's supposed to help Schefter win back some of the people he may have lost during recent controversies. He talks about all the standard stuff, learning his lessons, learning to slow down, learning to lean on editors. Schefter also talks about his relentless work ethic. The story points out that Chris Mortensen once turned down a request to do a live ESPN hit on Christmas Day, yet Schefter agreed to it. As the writer said here, personally, I think Mortensen is the one that comes out looking good here. A theme throughout the story is Schefter's annoyance over having to take pictures for the feature. I want you to get what you need, he told the photographer. I hope I never blanking see them. I don't need any more attention.
Wow. That's interesting.
Right? And then, well, some of his colleagues don't seem to be the biggest Adam Schefter fans. He is your preeminent journalist for the preeminent sport in America, said an on-air ESPN personality. I would hope that as a network, you're embarrassed by that. But I'm blown away that ESPN doesn't seem to care. The Cook incident, Dalvin Cook, was the most serious, and multiple people who work at ESPN, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal matters, said they worried that it and the Watson reporting reflected a failure to understand the sensitivity of domestic violence allegations. Schefter, however, didn't offer a direct response to the criticism from his colleagues, saying only, are they going to go on record? So, I mean, you can kind of read a little bit more here and there, but is Schefter. Oh, there was another thing on here too that apparently isn't on this piece, but apparently they there was something with Ian Rappaport on here too, but there was like a point system. Like they were talking about how some of these insiders like reach out to agents and beg for scoops. So because they use it as like, well, this is how we get our employment, our contracts, and and then there's like apparently a point system that somebody keeps track of. And Schefter, I think, was it this past free agency? Let me double check it. But apparently, like Schefter like blew everybody out of the water or something like that. And Ian Rappaport took issue with it and actually asked, it was Sports Illustrated that did this, like a point system, and actually asked Sports Illustrated to correcting. So it's like they could dumb it down and say it's not a competition, but we all know it's a freaking competition between writers, right? I mean, come on, for crying out loud. So
have you heard of the battles between Woj and Shams?
Yeah,
that's very much a thing. Very like some of the almost like pettiness of like how one will report something and the other's got to report another thing so that they can actually seem like they really did the scoop. I won't go into detail. I mean, I can, but it would take a while. They all don't get along.
No. Yeah, this is actually from the Washington Post about the whole Ian Rappaport and Schefter kind of battling back in part. So here it is. With so much at stake, the competition for scoops is fierce. What agent told of hearing NFL reporters begging for scoops, even saying their own upcoming contract negotiations were dependent on their ability to break the news? When Sports Illustrated followed Schefter around during the opening day of free agency a few years ago, the story described Markman awarding points to reporters based on how many signings they broke. The tally, according to the story, found Schefter far ahead, but Ian Rappaport went through the scoring math and believed the tally hadn't given him proper credit. So he sought a correction from Sports Illustrated. The writer for Sports Illustrated, Mr. Markman, has since discontinued the point system off of that. So, yeah.
Okay.
But is Adam Schefter, I guess the long form of this for this question, is Adam Schefter the most disliked sports media? Top 5? Is he a top 5 disliked sports media member out there?
I think he is at this point.
And I think, and I know I'm kind of hesitating because I feel Packers fans probably have a little bit more of a angst against him.
Yeah, the whole Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
thing.
the accumulation of information.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I've sensed that as competitive of a world as it is, many egos there are involved, understandably so. I've gotten the impression that a lot of sports media people generally seem to get along with other sports media people. They all kind of understand the game. They understand the work involved, et cetera, et cetera. Even if they're competitive with each other, even if they're constantly watching each other, they're also not going to necessarily be anti each other. I don't sense that with Adam Schefter.
I always do find it funny, depending on which one it is, but if somebody breaks a story and the person doesn't give proper credit, there are certain people on Twitter that will call that person out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big bugaboo for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hey, put me in your tweet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and ESPN as a network has been notorious for not citing sources. Remember the whole bottom line controversy of about a decade ago, where they would just put stuff up and before they started to have put in like sources say, or there were some sources and ESPN, and that was not good enough. I mean, now they've gotten better at that, but for the longest time, they wouldn't do that. But that's a network as opposed to an individual. And a lot of individuals have to work with each other on set, in a booth. I mean, sometimes you get like an Al Michaels, Boomer Esiason situation where they don't gel well. But that's not, as a whole, no one likes the person. You're not going to be able to work with a lot of folks if they don't like you, unless your job is essentially the lone wolf thing. You're out there gathering the news, and if you go away, there's not going to be that many people that lose their job because they can't directly interact with you. Adam Schefter is perfectly in that spot. Same with Ian Rappaport. Same with Jake Glazer. Same with Adrian Wojnarowski. Same with Sham. So all of those folks are in those roles. Same with Rosenthal. All of those guys. So it's easier to dislike one of them if they start breaking rules, if they start making odd posts, and then to skate past a lot of those controversies and get paid more money, and that resentment's going to build us. So I think he's top 5. Is he number 1? I don't know, but top 5, probably so.
Mm-hmm. It's weird because I remember Schefter on NFL Network. Do you remember him on NFL Network?
I think that was before I even had NFL Network. Like the first time I remember seeing him, the first time I think was it 2009? Because I remember that I was first learning about who Adam Schefter was, and I think he had just come to ESPN. I remember seeing him. We were here at the radio station. We had our downstairs basement conference room, and we had ESPN on for some reason. Like we were having like a party or whatever. And I remember that was on, and one of my fellow DJs sees him, and he says, "That guy looks like a jerk." because Schefter kind of has that. He kind of has resting.
Oh yeah.
He has resting jerk face.
Yeah.
Some people can't help that. But that was like one of the first impressions that any of us had about him. But that was right after he came to ESPN. So I vaguely remember hearing about him with NFL Network. And like I said, I don't think I had. This is back in the early days, back in those, you got to go to a bar to watch it days, or you had to pay a lot of money to get it on your package days. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember because I don't know. Again, I remember stupid stuff. But I remember watching the Packers Vikings. This was before NFL Network was bigger, and you had to go and find somebody.
The infamous.
It was like it was a rainy
freezing
December.
Rain night. Let's go to a bar to watch a NFL Network game.
And Schefter was on NFL Network because I remember because he used to be a Broncos reporter, and there was a Raiders story, and like Al Davis called him out, so Schefter had to talk about it on NFL Network. It was some sort of AFC West drama back in the day, sort of thing. But I remember Schefter from NFL Network, but he has blown up. And this whole insider thing has blown up.
Yeah.
In like the last 20 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it used to. I mean, there were a handful of people who had like either. I mean, the big thing used to be individual newspaper insider columnists.
Mm-hmm.
I've cited Charlie Walters a million times because I still think he's the best insider for Minnesota sports I've ever read in my life. I've been reading his stuff in the Pioneer Press for about 3 decades now. I think he's getting closer to retirement because his columns come out every like 2 to 3 weeks, it seems. But that, for me, that's must read. You'll hear mention Bill Simmons again because he keeps bringing up like Peter Gammons' columns and Bob Ryan and Will McDonough, who are in a lot of cases also reporters, but especially like the Gammons notes. Which that reminds me of the Diamond Notes segment on Sports Center in the 90s with Peter Gammons. That was probably one of the first of those insider makes its way to TV sort of thing. I would watch that religiously.
Yeah, I think my first ones that I remember on TV, I keep going back to John Clayton.
Yes. That was must see.
Mm-hmm.
Those segments are the best. But that was back when you didn't have Twitter to immediately come out, so you had to wait for that segment. But then those of us that wanted any kind of information, the Clayton segments.
Before Twitter, it was the bottom line on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
The breaking news or something like that, bottom line stuff.
I'm even going pre-bottom line. Back when you had to watch that 3-minute segment. News coming out of the New York Yankees this week said da-da-da-da-da, and do the segment for about 45 seconds.
There was
the Boston Red Sox, and it would be that sort of thing. But gosh, I remember watching those all the time because that's how you learned what was going on behind the scenes.
There was a website I remember. It was before Twitter and Facebook were around, but there was I think it was something like kpfl.com, some weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what it did, it would like somehow gather up all of like the stories around the internet and rumors and put them in one thing. So like I remember as a kid, it was the year that that Charles Woodson signed with the Packers. But it was this website that I would go on, and they would like somehow gather all this information, but it'd have little cliff notes like saying so and so from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporting that the LeVar Arrington is interested in the Packers, but only if Brett Favre says he'll come back and play.
Wow.
Like 3 sentences about that. They'd sum it up that way. But I remember going to that website pre-Twitter, Facebook, like that. I remember doing that as a kid, trying to find the rumor. And it was the Charles Woodson year, I remember.
Wow.
Yeah. That had to have been 06. Yeah, 06, 2006.
In the last days before Twitter took over everything. Because Twitter, it was just getting started, but it wasn't Twitter.
Yeah, it was some weird thing. It was like KFFL or something. It could have been some random guy in his basement just scouring the articles all over the internet and, putting little blurbs about them. But I remember that was my go-to one to try to find rumors.
Wow.
And I remember going in high school, like checking sports.yahoo.com. Hey, is Brett Favre coming back or not? Like in between class times and all that.
Gosh, now I wish I'd known about that website. I would have read that all the time.
Yeah. I'm going to have to see if I can figure what that was. It was like something weird like that. But, yeah.
Yeah. Insiders have definitely grown. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Way grown.
All right. We got to take a really quick break, and then we're going to be done with the second hour already. So we'll do that. And then we got a little match game coming up next hour. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back after these words.
bad are bad. The Reds are going to be bad, they're bad. The A's are going to be bad. Like if there was any saving grace for the A's, is that they always seem to find some way to rejuvenate themselves. It finally ran out of steam this year. I actually think losing Bob Melvin is making a bigger difference than I think a lot of people were expecting. And the A's organization, they probably knew it, but those of us outsiders. And there have been disappointments. I mean, the Royals and Tigers are way worse than I thought they were going to be. But the Orioles are way better than I think any of us thought they were going to be. Their talent coming up is making a big difference. Adley Rutschman, oh my gosh, the catcher that was called up a few weeks ago, that coincided with Rutschman's arrival at the show. I'm not sure that it's entirely because of that, but there's a big part of that. That's the reason. Their pitching is starting to improve. That pitching staff was not great, and they got a pitcher going to the All-Star game. It's great to see what's happening, and it's to the point now where you go, okay, they can build on this. I don't think they're going to be making trade deadline moves, try to get in the playoffs this year. I could actually see them maybe going a little in reverse and getting rid of some of their older players like Mullins or even the hometown favorite, Trey Mancini, or at least the guy the fan favorite, I should say, Trey Mancini. But I think they can do that with an eye towards potentially being competitive, legitimately competitive for a playoff spot next year. And as bad as a lot of the Orioles teams, well, especially in the past few years, but by and large over the last couple decades have been, remember, they had a run about, what was it, 2012 to 2016? They were good. They made the ALCS in 14. I mean, it's not a bad team for a little while there, but they mailed it in. It was kind of shameful how they turned around. I'm glad to see it right now. It might be a short stretch, but I'm glad to see it. It's great to see the Orioles relevant and people starting to show up to the games. And I'm not an Orioles fan. I don't care one way or the other. I just like seeing it. So the stock riser, even long term, I'm with Baltimore on that.
My stock riser, I had my stock faller up first. I don't know why I did that, but anyways, I was gonna go. I don't know why I had that one. My stock riser, even though he's not making the All-Star game, but I went with Devin Williams because of the run that he's on right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should be in the All-Star game. I hope he eventually will find his way in the All-Star game right now. But this dude is on it, and I think he doesn't get the credit because he's a setup guy.
Right.
You know, if he was a closer and putting up these numbers, maybe he gets in. But we're talking about a dude who has been just as lights out as Josh Hader at this point for the Brewers. So stock up Devin Williams, who again last night, 9 pitches, 3 outs, took care of business. His stock is rising. He's adding more to his resume. He will be an all-star at some point. Hopefully it'll be this year.
I mean, with the usual attrition, I wouldn't be completely shocked if we find that out within the next week or two that he is an all-star. And remember, he was a rookie of the year. I get it. It was a short season, but he was a rookie of the year. If you were Cy Young winner that year, if you're MVP winner that year, it's not really asterisked. So Devin Williams, it does have that to his honor. So even if it was a 2 months versus 6 months, and if it had been a 6 month season, maybe he doesn't get it, but he got it. That's what counts. So, yeah.
My stock faller, N'Keal Harry, the former first-round pick of the New England Patriots. I feel sorry for this guy's career twofold. One, if you're a receiver that gets drafted by Bill Belichick in the first round, you're doomed for failure because Bill Belichick can't draft receivers in the first round. He's awful at that. And then, so, you know, he was doomed for failure there to begin with. And then he gets traded to where wide receivers' careers go to die. The Chicago Bears. So N'Keal Harry, stock faller right there.
Sincerest.
I hope he can change it, but I mean, come on, let's look at recent history here, man. Yeah, you're a receiver in Chicago. It doesn't usually tend to work out. So
take out our Packer, Viking, non-Bear fandom. Could you actually make a case that we now actually have 2 players for whom there's maybe just general rooting interest to see them succeed in Justin Fields and N'Keal Harris, just to see that they're not going into a vortex of suck?
Justin Fields is from Ohio State, so no.
Well, yeah, I know. There's not exactly the violins coming out.
No.
But I'd like to see there's another guy where I like his game. I kind of like to see him do well based on what I think he can do, and I don't want him being a Bear to destroy his career.
I will always remember N'Keal Harry because Brandon Berg will know this too. It's the gift that or the meme image that Brandon still saves from our draft party a few years ago. It was the last pick in the first round, and I needed it to get double digits, and I got it. N'Keal Harry, I had mocked to New England.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my 10th one I got right, I think.
Is that the one where you guys are sitting at the desk downstairs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Arms raised.
You're like, yeah.
Yep.
I remember that one.
Yep. That was the pick that got me to double digits.
By the way, before I get to my stock faller, how did you do in the NBA draft?
I think based on our point system, it was like 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
The curveball right away, so that didn't really help.
Right. No. But
we knew the order. Well, we knew who the top 3 were, but it kind of switched in order.
But there were a few that went the right direction.
Johnny Davis, I know I got right. That one.
Like everybody had Johnny Davis to watch.
Hey, stop. Give me
I didn't do a mock draft.
Yeah.
You gonna do a baseball mock?
No.
Well, there are some mocks going around ESPN.
Oh, I know. You can have a mock for anything.
Oh, I know. You could do a mock for what we're going to talk about in the second segment of the show if you really want to. But there's some. I mean, if you want to educate yourself on who's going to go in the baseball draft, you totally could. Probably get like 2 right, but that's 2 more right than if you don't do it.
What are the odds that all those guys will actually make a play in the majors too?
Also, that seems to be a bit of a problem. Stock faller Acrisure. I didn't even know who they were till yesterday or the day before. Look, actually, I should say there should be literally a stock.
Yeah, their stocks are going to rise now.
Right, it should be. This is more figurative stock. Literal stock, they're actually going to do better. Those who haven't heard.
That's because, like, who said it yesterday? How many people actually heard about them? Nobody. Now, how many people have heard about them? Yep, raise your hand.
Right, and I mean, okay, yeah. If you're in Michigan, if you're in Pennsylvania, have you heard of Acrisure? There, sure. I mean, that would be like just picking a local insurance. Gosh, there's not really like a local place that's really huge. But let's take like credit unions, like your Royals or your Wisconsins, those sorts of things. Like we know them around here, but if they bought naming rights because they bought some place in like St. Louis, people in St. Louis would be like, "What the heck is this?" Or outside of St. Louis, I really should say. They'd be wondering about that, but it's regionality. The stock falling thing, it is, again, it's not literal because it'll go up because of the exposure, because CBS, big game. Let's hope the Steelers stay competitive in the post-Roethlisberger era. Stock falling because usually if you get the naming rights to a stadium, you don't want a recently retired fan favorite to rip it immediately afterwards, especially when there's nothing really about you that's a reason to rip on it. I mean, it's not like this is a company that employs people of shady backgrounds and has been investigated and has had dealings with Russia or something where you're like, wow, okay, why are they getting involved? Oh, they're an insurance company. And then Ben Roethlisberger's like, that sucks. It's Heinz Field for me. Like, what? Yeah. I mean, if I'm the Acrisure people, I'm like, wait, well, hang on a second here. And if you're a Steelers fan, what are you going to be more inclined to support? You're still going to want to call it.
It reminds me of the Miller Park and Ampham Field thing.
Which,
again,
and again, and there it was better because at least it's a Wisconsin company. It's not a company that came in because their Pennsylvania ties. One, they bought a company in Pittsburgh like very recently. Otherwise, they're Michigan based. Two, one of the Steelers like minority owners, I think, like they have a minority share, I think also has a connection to Acrisure. So that's the in on this. It's not just completely foreign. But the thing is, Heinz was a corporate name too. This isn't like they renamed Chuck Noll Stadium, Terry Bradshaw Field.
It's not like changing Lambeau Field to whatever.
Right.
Like, I don't want to say any names or anything, but you get the gist.
Right. Well, yeah, that sort of thing.
Heinz wasn't a Pro Football Hall of Fame great for the Steelers.
No, it is a company. Granted, it's a Pennsylvania company, and it's
not Hershey's, so it's okay.
That would sounded more delicious because it's chocolate. But I mean, what do I have at home? Do I have Heinz or Hunt's? I can't remember. I think I have Heinz for ketchup at home. I always forget which one is which. But yeah, no, I've got Heinz. But it sounds better because it sounds like just the name of a person. Like Miller Park sounds better because...
Well, it's beer and it's Wisconsin and it's a Brewers team.
That ties into all of that. I mean, again, no offense, American Family. I've got it. It's my insurance company. But American Family Insurance Field doesn't have quite the same ring as Miller Park.
That's what we call AmFam.
Exactly. So Acrisure Stadium does not have the same ring as...
It'll be called the Sure.
The Sure.
The Sure.
I can't believe there was actually a thing about, will the ketchup bottles stay? The big ketchup bottles at Heinz Field? And what would you replace that with? What, like an insurance document? I mean, what are we going to do with that? So, yeah, stock falling just in terms of PR. We'll forget about it eventually, but I'm sure there's a good number of Acrisure people who are like,
speaking of stadiums, what's, added to another, badge of honor for your stadium last night over there for the Twins? Three rain delays last night.
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk to Brandon about that Friday. He was at the game and he was venting about it on Twitter yesterday.
Outdoor baseball when you want a dome.
Yeah. On a retractable roof.
Look like an airplane hangar. I'd like to actually
play games on time.
It's not that bad either. I mean, if you look at the total number of rain delays, there actually hasn't really been much of a thing at Target Field. That was a concern, and it really didn't pan out.
Every new stadium going forward should have a retractable roof in baseball.
If they could build one that, like the perfect state, and actually, like infrastructure-wise, it wouldn't work. But if they could design it, they could figure it out. What I'd do is put like one that's out of the view of the stadium, because the stadium is so well built, a roof would take away from the look. I love the design of Target Field. Love it, love it, love it. If that you can't do that with the roof. What would be better is to like stick it behind, say, like the first base side over that parking lot to the west, way out of the view, and then you could just slide over the top somehow. But that's not practical at all. And I'm not saying that AmFam Field looks terrible. It does. I actually love the arch effect. It's unique. That's the thing with that stadium. I will take that retractable roof over like Seattle or Arizona, any of those others that
every new stadium should have a retractable roof, but the one thing is they can't be like AmFam Field and like even if it's 65, but the wind's a little bit in the wrong direction, hey, we're going to close it.
That the problem.
It gets too much.
That's the problem, because teams will always do that.
That's the one issue.
How many retractable roof stadiums do you see that are open like all the time? It's usually the other way around. I don't want to like single out Arizona or something because it's always really, really hot. So of course they're going to keep it closed. But both the football and the baseball stadiums there usually are closed. But by and large, you see that happen a lot. And I'll bet a lot of Twins fans will be like, wait, so now we got a retractable roof and now it's Metrodome Part 2. That was, I can't emphasize enough, and I think you have to be a Twins fan or really know your Minnesota politics to understand how that whole debate went. But I can't tell you enough of how much people wanted to get outside. Like they would take no roof and rain delays over being in the Metrodome. That was a strong sentiment. And honestly, I don't.
So then why is there a roof on for US Bank?
That had to do with multi-purpose stuff. Now, again, that's knowing your politics in this and knowing how stuff could be afforded. Because the Wilfs wanted an open-air stadium. They wanted to basically have Met Stadium Part 2. But in order to get public money, and mind you, this was after Target Field, XL Energy Center, TCF, now Huntington Bank Stadium. All of these facilities opening up. So there's a lot of venue fatigue. That's why I'm still skeptical on how much luck Mark Laurie and A-Rod are going to have getting a replacement for Target Center, which is pretty much inevitable. I mean, how much public money we're going to put to each team having their own facility. But that was the thing with the Vikings. There's a lot of fatigue in this. Like, you guys billionaires, we're going to spend money so you can have an open-air stadium sit in downtown Minneapolis, be used 10 times a year. That's it. Maybe a concert here or there. No, we're going to have a roof on this thing so we can use it for this and this and this and this. That's why you're hearing about that in Chicago. It's not necessarily because the Bears want to go inside. If they're going to get a new stadium in Chicago, in like Arlington Heights, it's going to be a closed stadium so they can get the Final Four, college football national championship, all sorts of other purposes. That's how you get the money spent. So it can be used for reasons besides football. That's entirely the reason why.
Target Field still has concerts over there.
They do in the summer.
Right.
Yeah, Right.
But what if it rains and then that concert's delayed and freaking canceled or postponed, and then people who buy Garth Brooks tickets have to readjust their lives to go watch a concert because of rain, because you didn't put a retractable roof on the thing.
Happens in New England. Happens in New York.
Yeah.
Happens in a whole lot of other stadiums too.
Well, that's why they should have retractable roofs on them.
Well, if you want the outdoor experience, you're going to have to deal with...
You can have the outdoor experience. It's called a retractable roof.
There is... Nice one, Richie. I do. I have a piece of the roof that collapsed too. Yes, I actually own a piece of that at home.
You would.
Of course. I'm
Just add to your collection of failures in your sports career, sports fandom.
Thank you. Hey, thanks to that roof, got 2 World Series titles. Those are successes. Thanks to a roof, you can't see the baseball.
Just imagine if you didn't have a roof, maybe you didn't win those World Series.
Yeah, but you know what? We did.
But that's the point.
Exactly.
So you need a roof.
Right. The roof should get part of the trophy, too. They should have put the roof
I hope
in
the Twins
trophy.
make the World Series and every game is rain delayed.
Well, by that point, it'd be snow delayed.
Exactly. Yep.
And the final game of the World Series is played on like December 3rd or something.
And
And then, but the thing is, then they'd win the World Series, too. The other team would whine about it. And
Good
like,
work.
yeah, so whatever. Who wins in the end? In beautiful, super cold, frigid, snowy Target Field, where everyone's miserable.
All right. You can have fun sitting in your rainstorms and for watching baseball games.
I will tell you, though, seriously.
You can't change it now. You can't change it. You got to sit through it.
Thing is, I'm good with it. I'm fine. I'm the Twins fan. I'm good with it.
All right.
I'll take it. Target Field still gets ranked like top 5 most.
It's a nice field, but it's stupid to have a field in Minnesota without a retractable roof for baseball.
Actually, all things being equal, they probably should have done that. The original proposals for a replacement for the Metrodome all involved a retractable roof when that started in like 1997. And that's right when retractable roofs were starting to become like, oh, we can actually do this. And they all had that. Again, the practical reason why they don't have a roof. The sentimental reason is because people wanted outdoor baseball. Well, yeah. Again, they were inside the Metrodome. Yeah, I got them 2 World Series, but people don't like that. That's why I wear that. I miss the Metrodome shirt because I know it's going to get a weird reaction from people because people are like, Metrodome sucked. But on the other hand, you kind of liked it, didn't you, Twins fans? I mean, it did provide it. It was a home field advantage, right? Hello. And I didn't really mind it, honestly. I mean, I was good with the Metrodome, but there's the sentimental reason. But okay, again, know your Minnesota politics. There was not the money for a retractable roof. The funding was not going to happen. They were going to lose votes. They would not have gotten the funding. And then, well, maybe Carl Pohlad would have done yet another threat that would have been hollow to move the team. But that was a thing. I mean, you want the public money, you got to do it. It's strange that it worked that way. In one case, you needed to not have a roof and make it cheaper to get the stadium built. In another case, you needed to spend extra money to have a roof to get the money passed to build the stadium. Well, they got them both built. Mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Well, your Minnesota experience with stadiums hasn't been that great.
No, it hasn't. I mean,
U.S. Bank, has they spent millions of dollars on curtains to, keep the light out. You know about that one.
Well, and the
Final Four.
Yeah, I know.
That looked awesome in there when I was there at the Final Four.
They had the thing is they had to do that too. I mean, well, okay, like I think it's stupid. I mean, I get it, the whole like glare thing. Well, play with windows, whatever. Like I don't mind that. As a fan, I'd kind of like to see the sun coming in, but I get it. Players that happens at other stadiums. I mean, imagine if it's at SoFi at some point, they're gonna have to put a roof. They're gonna have to put something over. They're gonna have to put that like something over the top if it ever comes to SoFi Stadium. They will. You can't have a translucent roof.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you can't do it. The NCAA won't allow that. So that's definitely a thing. I'm also a little disappointed in the cladding. They had to redo the entire exterior of that stadium.
Yeah, didn't a bunch of birds die?
Well, that was a concern early on. It actually didn't turn out to be that big of a deal. The bigger
you hate birds?
I'm pro bird.
Okay,
but
a bunch of them died, and you just said you didn't care.
Well, no, I did care. Then it turned out that like hardly like not nearly the numbers that they were concerned about was happening.
Hey,
like it was supposed
one
to be
is too many.
One is too many, but 10 would have been even worse.
Well, I think it was.
That's 9 birds that didn't die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, birds died and glass fell.
Well, and cladding fell. I'm more concerned. I mean, that's a bit of a problem too. When the side of your stadium is falling off, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
Not a big fan.
Issues all over there.
I love the design, but
all
guys,
over.
couldn't you do it? Could you do it right the first time?
I like Richie's tweet. Miller Park Amphitheater Field, 1 rain delay in 22 years. Target Field, 3 in 1 night.
I would actually say that's not necessarily the best thing to say because if you have a retractable roof, how do you get 1 rain delay? You should have 0 rain delays. That's the point. Do your job.
You give or take, mechanical failure. You got to give plus or minus 1 time on there.
No, still.
Or it's like the Cubs, they have their ridiculous sun delays. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yes.
The Cubs have the most ridiculous one of all time with their sun delay.
Would you prefer 3 rain delays or 1 sun delay?
I probably
for strategic advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. That was the dumbest thing to have ever happened. And it came from the Cubs, was their sun delay.
I actually used that as a line at a promotional event recently when it ended up being sunny and we were worried about rain. I'm like, we're not like the Cubs. We don't just delay stuff because maybe something will happen to try to get an advantage. It's again, well, you want to put a roof on Wrigley Field? Should they?
Go for it. Why not? That's why I said new stadiums.
Well, at least you're being consistent about that.
Yeah.
Wrigley with a roof. Okay.
It is going to be weird, though, when the Bears have a roof on there. I will say that.
Right. Okay. You as a sports fan, just without going to the games, just the overall experience. Target Field, should that have a roof, and should US Bank Stadium be open air?
Yes.
Because, okay. Even though it's baseball, even though
it's just me, but I feel like football should be open air. Baseball should have a retractable roof.
Okay. I think that's a fair. Should US Bank Stadium have the retractable roof option?
Should US Bank? Yes.
Understanding that how that would go, and eventually all the cold weather games.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of having an open air stadium in Minnesota.
But then, I would hope Minnesota would have it open, depending on who's coming in. Then you could get a little strategery there going too.
Yes.
You could close it with Green Bay coming in.
Yeah. Like the days you want to actually close it are if like October days when it's like 45 and misting, and it just feels yuck. Like it's I mean, I know football, but
yeah.
That's actually, those aren't the best Lambeau Field experience. The best ones are either the September ones. Okay, if it's 95.
I think my thing is, if I'm going to a football game, I know that game's going to happen. Unless it's some dramatic thing like the roof collapsing or something like that, right?
Or there's a thunderstorm nearby.
Right. But they're going to get the game in that day.
Right.
When it comes to baseball, there's that chance that, hey, they might actually call it.
Yeah.
That, I guess I'm looking at it from my if I have to drive over there and I only have 1 day to go to a game or something, I want to make sure I see the game.
Well, you see, that was those that wanted a roof in Minnesota cited the Twin fan base, that it goes through all of Minnesota, which there's a whole lot of Minnesota that goes north and west of the Twin Cities. There's a lot of travel. If you're coming from the Dakotas, if you're coming from Iowa, that's where the fan base is, northern Iowa. If you're coming from those places, you are driving hours and hours to then turn around and potentially go back home. That's more of an issue than in a smaller, or like, let's say Oriole Park, Camden Yards. Oriole fan base is by and large concentrated right around Baltimore. So you're not traveling hours and hours and there. So it's more acceptable in that case. So I understand that. And that is a concern if you're driving that far. It's kind of the same for the Brewers. The stadium is the far corner of the state. So if you're coming from up north, I mean, that's a 4-hour drive. I mean, we did it for years with County Stadium, but it's better knowing that the game is actually going to happen. I mean, sure, like you were saying earlier, you get bummed out when you go down on a nice day. You're like, really? It's a beautiful day and they're still going to leave the roof closed? But at least the game actually happens, which again is the whole point of going there, is to watch the game, not to sit. If you really want to enjoy a 67-degree day, then just sit outside for 3 hours.
Yeah, and that's like NBA. So like I'm thinking if I want to take my kid, who's a 5-year-old, who hates long car rides, to a game. It's like, first you got to pre-plan it. You can't just do it on a whim. So it's like, okay, I want to make sure the game's actually going to happen. So baseball, it's like, hey, it's quicker to go over the Twin Cities, but at least if I go to Milwaukee, I know he's going to see it. That's the issue that I run into. And then it's like the NBA, it's like the total opposite. Are guys actually going to play a game, or are they going to load management themselves that night? Football, if the guy's going to go or not. You're pretty much, you got a good idea whether, let's be honest, we go to see the quarterbacks. So we know when the quarterback's going to play or not.
Right.
So, that's football. We have a little bit more of a guarantee.
You see what, not to belabor this too long, but did you see what Adam Silver was saying? He had like his press conference on all sorts of issues.
I saw some of
and some of it was on load management, and they're still working on it. There's not an absolute solution for it, but he acknowledged. I mean, that's still an issue, but they're trying to find the best way to manage the season without but they're trying to come up with more incentive, basically, is what I'm trying to say. They're trying to find more incentive to get players to keep playing, so you don't have those stretches of, hey, we traveled all this. Oh, Giannis isn't sitting today? Or he's sitting today? Oh, great. Cool. So biggest star player is Bobby Portis. Yay. We have one of those games. And that's not fully solved yet.
Right.
But they're working on it. At least the game's going to happen. Yeah. We do know that.
But we can all agree that Cubs fans can't talk about delays.
No. Again, one of the few things that unites Minnesota and Wisconsin fans, Chicago.
Yeah.
Anything Chicago.
They can't. I'm sorry. You can't. You can blame Joe Madden on that. I don't care, but it's still Cubs thing.
You delayed a game and it was sunny.
Strategery. All right. We got to take a break, and we'll talk some more baseball coming up in just a few minutes. Game 2 between the Brewers and Twins happening in just a few hours from now.
It's a YouTube game.
Hopefully they get it in on time. We got a plane to catch to the West Coast, just saying. So, plus your manager out there begging for a rain delay last night too. You saw that, didn't you?
Yeah. Bring it. Bring the rain.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
For a beautiful look that protects and stays clean, choose Dutch Boy paint from Menards. Now all 11% off. Get quality products with smart technology like mildew-resistant coating, stain shield, and dirt-resistant paint and primer in the award-winning Dutch Boy Twist and Pour containers. Get 11% off everything, including the full line of Dutch Boy paints. Now at Menards. Good through July 17th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
It's getting worrying now, isn't it? Talking to my friends, the price of gas, the cost of food, we're already halfway through this year, and they said inflation was going to go down. Instead, it's over 8.6%, and it's still going up. And I can't see that changing anytime soon. Can you? Thing is, I did something about
and it's rated on, oh, absolutely, to, okay, well, maybe this, to, we're not going to say anything, to, but we'll discuss just off the record, all the way up to the level of 100% untouchable. Don't even bother thinking about it. Giannis is number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's no way the Bucks would ever trade. Buxton, if he did a baseball list, I would think Byron Buxton has to be climbing up that list. I would have had him in a trade discussion, maybe somewhere in the 30s to 20s in the ranking. I think he's pushing up into the top 20 now. Like, nah, you'd have to have a really sweet deal. Not for the Brewers bullpen. Good as the bullpen is for the Brewers, no. I'm keeping Byron Buxton.
Okay.
You know what? I might actually take Buxton over Correa right now. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think Buxton's has had more contribution. I'm not looking at WAR, not literally more contributions, but it feels like Byron Buxton's been more valuable to the Twins than Carlos Correa has been this season.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to believe.
Yeah.
But center field, yeah, you got some work to do on that.
Yeah, and I know they've got names all over the place too. I do find it funny, like when you go to CBS Sports, they have like a top 30 thing of players. It's like, 30 trade targets.
It's like Andrew Benintendi in there.
Yes.
Like every team. I think unless you're like the Twins and have Byron Buxton, everybody wants Andrew Benintendi.
It's funny because I always chuckle at stuff like that because like almost I think on like 80% of the players, Yankees were listed as a possible destination.
Yeah.
It's like as good as the Yankees are, yet they apparently need all those other players. And I get it. I understand it because the Yankees are probably more able to acquire such talent as other teams
Which is funny because they don't really, I mean, they're not perfect across the board, but they don't need a ton of help anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So they can be associated with a lot of players. I don't think they're going to get a lot of players. Maybe like one or two of those. Wouldn't be shocked if Benintendi's the one, but they're not going to bring in like 6 top flight players this year. It's just a lot are associated with them. I honestly don't know which way the Yankees are going to go either. They could go and there's not a glaring, I think with left field a little weak with them. I think I'm trying to remember which position, but there's not a very obvious one like the Brewers in center field where you clearly need to fill a gap.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too, because I know in that same article, they mentioned, the Brewers have Bryce Terang as their 5th option or 5th rated prospect. And he's a shortstop, but he also can spend some time at second. They said that maybe he could be a trade piece because, they got Willie Adames and Luis Urias. But the same breath, he's in AAA already. Their 4 top-rated prospects are all outfielders, but the highest one's in AA. And then you got like Colton Wong. I mean, I can't imagine him sticking around for a few more years. So would you trade Bryce Terang when he might be more able to come up sooner, put him in the infield, or do you trade one of your highly touted outfielders? It also might depend on whether you think that trade that you make for an outfielder that you can keep.
Right.
Long term.
Yeah. Gosh, we're back to the debates from about 4 years ago about, is the rebuild over? Do you sacrifice your future for this season thing? I mean, we're long past that, obviously. But
I think they still got to go for it because of the pitching that they have and how cheap it is.
Yeah, I'd take advantage of it right now. So maybe you do, actually. I don't feel as passionately one way or the other like I did again like about 5 years ago where I was more against mortgaging the future. I'm wary because the Brewer farm system only now is kind of recovering from a combination of trades and talent that didn't pan out.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to gut the system again. But if that is the difference to get past Dodgers and whatever combination from the Braves and Mets right now, those seem to be the 3 biggest obstacles. I might actually go for it right now. Again, like you said, the thing we have to remember is how much will Corbin Burns and others cost going down the road when you're a smaller market and you can't necessarily, you can afford it in the sense that there's not a cap, but can you really afford it?
Right.
I don't know.
I really feel like that if for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, but I don't want to get too far ahead. But if the Brewers don't do it all this year, they don't win it all this year, I almost feel like it's going to be like 2011 off season and heading into that season. That was the year they traded for Greinke, Sean Markham. They knew it was going to be the final year of Prince Fielder. I almost feel like if they fall short again this year, that next offseason is going to be something like that, where they're really going to make some movement. Like, okay, we know this is it now. We have to do something. Put themselves in a position to go for it.
2023, and then do not a full rebuild, but like a
retool.
Yes. To go all Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's probably what it would be. They'd have more depths because of how they are as an organization. They probably would not be necessarily playoff competitive for a year or two, but turn around and come back relatively quickly. And you do have a bit of a floor with Counsell as a manager, with some of the other players on the team. They're not going to be a terrible team. We're not talking 40 and 122.
And I think the other part too is like, what's David Stern's plan going to be? Remember that whole speculation with the Mets and that?
He might not be around next year.
And that's the other part of everything.
But okay, if he leaves, does that necessarily mean the Brewers are screwed? I would like to think there's another.
Well, I know Matt Arnold. I think it's Matt Arnold.
Yeah.
Like he's the GM.
Yeah.
He's got that title. But
so I'd like to think either him or somebody else could do the job about as well as David Stearns. You don't want to rely on that because it's dangerous. I've seen plenty of times when the next guy up comes, you're like, well, we'll be fine. Not at all. That happened over in Minnesota. I remember Terry Ryan was the longtime general manager, brought in a lot of talent. Then when Dave Smith took over, didn't work well at all. And he was supposed to be next great guy. That's one example I've followed from my favorite team. Could very well happen with the Brewers as well. We don't know. But you can't also have the mindset, kind of that fear mindset of, if we lose Stearns, we've lost everything. Maybe not. I mean, you could find another guy too. If you're a smart enough organization, you will find a good guy to take over. And that really comes out of ownership and acquisition.
I was going to say, then do you have the faith in Mark Anasio to find that guy?
You have to.
I think, has he done anything to not give you that any trust or faith? I mean,
in terms of ranking confidence in like ownership, which gets tricky here in Wisconsin because it's one team has thousands and thousands of them that don't actually have a say in any of it. But if we're then just going to call it just call it Mark Murphy as owner, I guess, because he's making the decisions, put him in that role. I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm putting Edens, Lasry, and I know they're the ones that actually have gotten a championship of late, but I'm putting Edens.
But they spend money. They got a little bit more cash flow.
They do, but some of their choices have been odd. I'm putting them in third.
For owners?
Of the three, in terms of have they made the best overall, the consistently good decisions.
You put them three?
I would actually. I think I might actually put Atanasio 1, Murphy 2, those 3. Now, I'm not saying any of them are bad. I'm saying, but if I have to rank them, I'm probably putting them 3 because there were a lot of moves they were making. I'm like,
but they instantly turned it around and.
Well, see, that's the weird thing. They also, and maybe I guess it all depends on how much we've. I'm looking at like every decision, and there are enough decisions where I went, "What are you doing?"
Give me an example of a decision.
The whole Jason Kidd thing.
Okay.
I think the Horst thing. I'm not 100% on board with Horst. I don't think it needs to be fired. But that the Horst thing came about because Edens was in charge at that moment, and he had veto power over the other two. How in the world are we running an organization like that? That was not. I don't think that was the best move overall. All of that being said,
but they got a championship.
Exactly, it worked out. I'm not saying that's in spite of them. You had Giannis. You made enough good moves. Horst made enough good moves, but I'd put them like. I still would put them third. Like if Mark Atanasio is running the Bucks, do the Bucks not win a championship? Put it that way.
I think I've got Atanasio second on my list,
and Murphy third.
Yeah. I'd put Edens and Lasry at number 1.
Really?
I mean, no offense to Herb Cole or anything like that, but we were talking about an 8-seed Bucks all the time.
Well,
and then you get a flux of, new owners. They build the new stadium. They throw in some cash to put behind players, surrounding Giannis and all that sort of stuff. They've made the Bucks a title contender.
And now, admittedly, I think I do have a more negative assessment because of the criticisms of them from earlier in their tenure as owners. So think really about 2013 through about 2018 or so. Since then, they haven't really made any questionable moves. It's really up. Like the last was probably the Jason Kidd saga. That really seemed to be screwed up.
But in the same token, though, wouldn't you have to say that about Murphy with the whole Aaron Rodgers drama and the silos and all that crap that last few years?
Yeah, and they don't have a Super Bowl title since 2010. So I mean that's a factor. When you have a really good team, you should be getting to the Super Bowl. You shouldn't be constantly in a position to lose playoff games at home. That to the point where like we openly, that's an open joke now about, well, the Packers all go to the playoffs and they'll lose at Lambeau Field.
Right.
How in the world did we get to that situation? Think of all Packer history, and now like it's presumed that they don't have a home field advantage. What the heck happened?
I do think, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I know we got to take another dang break here, but I think Anasio did take a little bit of a hit, or has taken a little bit of a hit from fans' perspectives about budgets and all that, especially during the lockout when he's buying sports memorabilia.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
No, I mean, know the room at that point, sort of thing. But I don't know.
But I think if Atanasio had the NBA financing structure, it didn't have limitations. I think the Bucks might have actually done better a little sooner. I will also say, last point on Edens though, and I'm going to be interviewing a guy from the Athletic UK next week. I'm going to save this interview for when I'm filling in again in August. But he's the guy that covers Aston Villa. Of course, Wes Edens is co-owner of Aston Villa. And everything I've read is that Aston Villa fans love what Wes Edens has done. And the other guy that his co-owner over there is Nasif Sawiher. I'm trying to remember the name off the top of my head. Point being, there are a lot of English soccer fans at the highest level that can't stand their owners. Aston Villa has one of the highest owner approval ratings. Think of like most liked owners in American sports. That's what it's like over there. And part of that's Wes Edens. He must be doing something right over there. And
Who
I think
is the most liked owner in sports in America?
That's a
good question.
I know. Like I want, how I love making analogies, and I couldn't think of one immediately.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I mean, maybe Mark Cuban, like among the fan base,
Yeah.
where there's something that relates over really well, and that's tough to come up with.
Like, I'm even trying to think of football because I think Cowboys fans are kind of tired of Jerry Jones too.
Yeah.
I know one of my good buddies is a Cowboys fan. He can't stand Jerry Jones.
I don't know that Rams fans are going to be all in on Stan Kroenke. They got a title, it's because Kroenke brought him over. But I'm not sure if LA folks are like, woo, Stan Kroenke. By the way, Stan Kroenke, extremely unpopular in the Premier League because of his Arsenal ownership. They hate him over there.
Trying to think. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Plus, I think ownership is a bigger deal over there because remember how teams are built. It's like a community thing. If you're the owner, you are the steward of the club versus here where they're like business entities. So people in English soccer, other soccer clubs over in Europe, they care a lot more about what the owners do. That means a lot more, like approval ratings and such, if someone does something like that, like that poll that came out, versus America, where it's really more in the GM, the coach, because again, it's more of an operation. It's a business entity.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting question, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through teams in my head, and I just can't think of them.
No. There seems to be more people you don't like versus one. I think the ones you do like are the ones, it's like offensive linemen. You don't really hear about them.
Probably.
And your team wins and you're good.
Yeah, it's almost like if you know the name, it's probably for not a good reason.
Yeah.
Like
Art Modell.
Or Washington right now, Dan Snyder.
Yeah. Stephen Ross. So we know him.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike Brown for the Bengals. It's most
because he's lame.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
Right.
You want to talk about roofs? They don't even have an indoor practice facility for the Bengals, for crying out loud.
They're old school.
Come on.
We're doing it like we did back when we formed this team in '68, and we're not changing anytime soon.
Nothing. They got to go outside and practice.
They did get to the Super Bowl, though.
They did, but it took a while.
Still don't have a title, so I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, we got to take our break. I don't know how much time we'll have, but hey, Packers road trip ready to roll. Are they calling it road trip now or tailgate tour? I don't know, but they're
going to be different now.
Yeah, They're making a stop in Thorpe. That's the closest they're getting here, and Hudson over there. So
Going to Brandon Burke territory. I'm sure he'll love that.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
Ever had a shave so noticeably smooth that people want to touch your face? Like when a friendly pat on the cheek turns into a full-on cheek rub? Like, oh, that's like a baby's body.
All right, we got less than a minute to go here. We went long on a couple segments, but I just saw this pop up on Twitter. This might be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So Patrick Mahomes is he's a Coors Light endorser.
Uh-huh.
They got a video out. He's got where you can buy a Coors Light flashlight. Like,
Okay.
so he's got like a minute video playing around with a flashlight.
Oh.
You go to the website. It's not even the big version. It says right here, please note the flashlight for sale is a mini version. So is it one of those dang pocket things?
Yeah, I think so.
But batteries are included, so don't worry.
Hey, that's
You
good.
can get a flashlight with Patrick Mahomes for batteries included, people.
You're listening to the Dan Patrick Show on WAYY Eau Claire, W218